What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to Injection of Inspiration here today. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, where every single Saturday right here on the show, I give you your daily dose of motivational advice, helpful tips, etc., etc. Episode 19 here today, by the way, as well. I'm recording this at midnight on Thursday night / Friday morning. So if my voice sounds quieter than usual, it's not because I lost my voice or anything, as I have in the past couple of weeks with WrestleMania and SmackDown and the Florida trip and everything else. It's just because I'm recording this super late before I head home for the Easter holiday this weekend. Speaking of which, I hope you have a great Easter holiday if you celebrate it. If you had a Good Friday off, that's awesome. I have Monday off because I go to school in Massachusetts where we have Patriots Day off for that Monday. I have no idea why, just it's a holiday in Massachusetts, so take that for what it's worth. I have a day off. I don't really care. That's pretty cool. So anyway, hopefully you guys are doing well is the bottom line here. But for today, and as you guys probably know, I like to kind of touch upon things here on the show that are relevant, that are timely on anniversaries. Like, for example, on the show here last week, I talked about the Ultimate Warrior's inspiration, his influence on me over the past couple of 5-6 years or so. And now how it was on last Saturday on that day, 7 days ago, on that day, 3 years ago from that day, 7 days ago, I should say, was the day that the Ultimate Warrior had passed away. I talked about how you should always meet your idols, etc., etc. There was one story I wanted to share from last year that I'll talk about in next week's episode. This is a bit more timely than that one. That being my fandom for professional wrestling. Now, I don't usually try to mix my wrestling fandom with these episodes because these episodes can really be applied to pretty much any facet of your life, not just because you're a wrestling fan, not just if you're a wrestling fan. Obviously, 95% of the content I produce here on the channel is wrestling related, but I try to kind of go outside that box for this show, for Injection of Inspiration. That being said, though, this is kind of having to do with the topic I thought was timely, since yesterday, April 14th, 2017, marked 9 years since I first got into professional wrestling. Now, I had become a fan of it at that time officially, but I had watched wrestling from time to time prior to that point, dating back to September of 2007, but I did not consider myself a full-fledged fan of WWE until April 14th, 2008, 9 years ago from yesterday. And the reason why I bring this up and the theme I wanted to kind of talk about here today, albeit briefly, is that you should never be ashamed of who you are and what you like, what you're interested in. I'm pretty sure I've talked about it in different forms or fashions here on the show before, but I figured I would dedicate a whole episode to talking about this one subject. I'm a pro wrestling fan. Obviously, pro wrestling is not the most relevant thing in 2017. It's not the most popular thing, I guess might be the right word. As a 21-year-old turning 22 in less than 2 months, it's not a very common thing for 22-year-olds, for 21-year-olds, for people of my age to enjoy pro wrestling. Maybe 15 years ago at the height of the Attitude Era, or maybe even 20, 30 years ago when it was still, very relevant in pop culture and whatnot. Nowadays, not so much. And I'm not gonna get into the whole defense of pro wrestling and why people don't like it, why people don't watch it, it's fake, all this other shit. I've talked about that before. What I do want to talk about is that whether it's wrestling, whether it's like anime or whatever it might be, I'm not into anime or cartoons or anything, but I know people that are. Who fucking cares? You know what I mean? If you like something that most people don't, you should wear that as a badge of honor. Like with me with wrestling, I've talked about this before, again, on Facebook posts, on Twitter, and places like that. I'll reiterate the idea here for you guys for this show. That being, you should wear that as a badge of honor. Do I wish more people that I'm friends with watched wrestling? Do I wish I had more family members that were wrestling fans? Yes, but at the same time, no. Like, yes, so they could, as long as you tolerate it, that's really all that I could give a shit about. As long as you tolerate wrestling and or the fact that I enjoy it, that's all I care about. If I associate myself with you on a regular basis, that's all that you need to know about me. That's all I ever ask of anyone, is just to tolerate wrestling, not even become a fan or not even understand it or accept it, just tolerate it. That's it, because wrestling is pretty much my life. It's 99% of who I am, if not 100% of who I am. So, that being said, I only really ask people to tolerate wrestling because I feel like I'm a one of a kind within my social circles of people that don't really watch wrestling. And even those friends that I do have that do watch wrestling, my core 4 people, my core 4 friends, even they have other interests outside of wrestling, such as myself, and they're different interests than from what I have, which is what makes everyone different. I saw this on Twitter a couple days ago, and I thought I would read it out to you. I think they reposted it from Twitter, and I thought it would be relevant for this episode, so I'll read it real quick. So it says, hey you, yeah, you reading this, no one will ever exist throughout the entirety of human history no one who will ever exist, throughout the entirety of human history will ever have the same exact set of life experiences, world outlook, and personality as you. Not a single one. That means just by being yourself, you bring something to the table of human existence that no one else ever could. So keep being you, and good luck finding out what you can do to make this world a richer, more fulfilled place. So I saw that on my Twitter timeline about 2-3 days ago, and I thought it was so fascinating because it's so fucking true. Like, it is so absolutely true that you are not even one in a million. You are a one of a kind. No one can ever replicate who you are. Like, you might find people throughout your life that you find yourself bearing a resemblance to, whether it be physically or emotionally or in terms of interests and stuff like that, but that person will never have the same experiences that you do. So for people that feel like they're constantly being overlooked, that they're not important, bullshit. I call bullshit on that. You have to realize that you make a difference in this world in some form or fashion, in one way or another, whether it be super huge or super small. It doesn't fucking matter. The smallest things can at some point make the biggest differences. You are a game changer, whether you realize it or not. I know a lot of people that deal with depression or have, mental health issues and stuff like that, that constantly battle the question that they feel like they're not worth it. And again, a lot of these episodes of Injection Inspiration that I do can kind of go back to this one theme that I talk about, that you are worth it. But you have to realize that you are a 1 in a million. Like, that to me is super fucking fascinating. That's why I love to talk to certain people. Now, I talk about it here on the show. I've said it here on the show before. I mean, I'm not to say that I'm not a people person. I just do not voluntarily choose to associate myself with people, or at least certain types of people, which I'm sure can be said for pretty much just about anyone in some form or fashion. But for me, I'm not, when I say I don't like people, it's not entirely accurate. I say that in a way like where I won't go out partying, or I won't go to places where there's tons of people, with the exception of like a wrestling show where I know people that are as like-minded as me, and we all enjoy the same things. Other than that, I won't go like to a crowded place. I don't know, I'm just not that type of person. I just do not feel like I thrive in that type of environment. That being said, I love to seek out people who have interesting stories to tell, and you have an interesting story to tell. So that's one theme that I wanted to talk about in this video. In addition, back to the wrestling thing, that you should not be ashamed of who you are and what you're interested in, again, because all that stuff makes you who you are. Don't try to change. I mean, your attitude, maybe, like if you feel like you have a bad attitude, obviously always attempt to improve upon that. But I'm talking about only you really know what you're about, who you are, what you want to do in life. No one else can tell you that. No one else. I mean, not even your closest friends or family know who you are and what you're about. The only person that will ever know the answers to those questions is you. And it might take you longer to figure that out than some people, and that's completely okay. I feel like we'll all figure out these questions, answers to these questions at some point in our lifetime, whether it be now, a year from now, later on in life. We'll all figure it out eventually. There's nothing wrong with that. So again, that being said, accept yourself for who you are, for what you are. Don't try to hide it. And I talked about it before in the whole Friends episode, and maybe another early episode from many months ago that I'm completely forgetting that off the top of my head. But if someone doesn't accept you for who you are, then fuck them. Then they're not worth your time to begin with. No matter how much in your mind you think you might need that person, you will never need anyone in life except yourself. I've said that before. I'll keep on saying it because it's true. At least in my opinion. You feel free to disagree. You may not agree. That's completely okay. what I've said before. Like, you feel in your mind that, okay, that person's pretty cool. I like that person. That person's cute. I want that person to be my boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. And, you come to find out they don't really like you for who you are, and you try to change yourself based on what they want you to be. Don't do that. Don't do that. As much as you might want that person, if they cannot, at the end of the day, if they cannot accept you for who you are, that's a fucking problem. And for you to change who you are you're not going to change your inner core. You might change your appearance, or you may say that you like different things, but you really don't. Like, at the end of the day, it's just going to be a lot harder to try to be something that you're not. And it goes back to that ever famous quote. I know Jason loves this. I think it's a great quote too. It's one of my favorite quotes as well. I would rather be hated for who I am than loved for what I'm not, or something along those lines. And again, I could not agree more. Just be you. Just be fucking you. And people that are worth your time, whether they, are attracted to you from day one or again later on. It just, for some people, it takes longer. And again, that's completely okay. But you will find those people in time that are worth your time, that are worth associating yourself with, that will like you for who you are, what you're interested in. And again, those people might be far and few between, but those are the people that are really fucking worth it in this lifetime. So again, kind of two themes to this video. Accept who you are, embrace who you are, embrace what you're interested in, and go full throttle with it. Don't be ashamed. Like, I wear wrestling shirts around all the fucking time because I don't give a shit what people think. Don't give a shit what people think. Obviously, give a shit what you think of yourself and what family and friends think. And I'm not saying completely disregard it. I'm not saying, just make it your life. Don't make it your life. I mean, take it with a grain of salt, but don't bend over backwards to appease other people when that's not what makes you happy. You have to appease yourself first before you can appease other people. So again, don't give a shit what other people think about you, what you like. Just embrace it. I love wrestling. I don't shy away from that. When people ask me what my dream job is, it's to work at the WWE. And some people don't get it. Some people I don't tell that to because I know they're not going to get it, and I don't want to waste my time trying to convince them that that's what my fucking passion is, that's what my dream is. I don't waste my time. And don't waste your time with people that aren't going to fucking get it. Whether it be wrestling or something else, or a TV show, and they don't like it, that's fine. If they don't like something that you don't like, that's not a bad thing. But if they try to change who you are and try to convince you that you should not be liking that thing that you do, or trying to tell you that you shouldn't be doing something that you enjoy doing, then that's a problem. Unless it's like fucking doing drugs, then obviously listen to them. But if it's like a TV show or a certain type of music, again, just embrace it. That's what makes you who you are. I will be the first one to admit, and you might turn out at this point, you might tune out at this point, I like Nickelback. Am I their biggest fan? No. But I have songs by them on my iPod. I enjoy some of their songs. I guess I kind of get the hate, but I feel like just because people like to shit on certain things, they like to be a part of a bigger group and just to feel like they fit in. So they may not necessarily, I mean, there are people who do indeed hate Nickelback's music, but there's a lot of people out there who just hate it because they were told to hate it. They were just told to fit a certain mold and kind of fit in with everyone else. They have to hate or like a certain thing, and I don't really give a shit about that. I feel like just be you, whether it's you and 5 people, you and 1,000,000 people. Just stay true to you and embrace who you are, what you like, and what you're all about. And at that point, you will find your biggest successes in life from that point forward, from being who and what you are. Do never, ever, ever, ever do not try to be something that you are not. Because at that point, you can only be someone that you're not for so long before the charade is over. The facade is done. And then you're back to being who you are. And I feel like you have wasted more time at that point, and you have just, you found out through those experiences that you can only be who you are. And you've only really wasted your time with people that aren't worth your time. So again, guys, embrace who you are, like who you are, wake up in the morning every single fucking day and know that you're worth it. You're awesome. Never ever think that you're not worth it, even if people aren't telling you that you're worth it. I mean, obviously it helps, but you have to know deep down that you are worth living. Never think that you are an afterthought, that you're a footnote, that you've forgotten about. Because to someone out there, you may not know it, but you're worth the world. So Keep on doing your thing. Keep on fighting the good fight. Have a great fucking weekend. Enjoy Easter on Sunday if you celebrate that type of thing. If not, have a stellar Sunday regardless. I'm Graham Matthews. I'll catch you guys right back here next Saturday for an all-new episode of Injection of Inspiration. And until then, guys, I'll catch your ass down the road.